Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Neil and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server, so welcome one and all.
This is a disappointment.
What is a disappointment, Neil?
Me being the only one in G Plus or whatever you want to call it, Teams, Meet, whatever. I go through this all the time. It's a poor showing, and I'm going to get on some people.
That's okay. That's no problem. We're doing our thing. We can do a bit of housekeeping, and then I'm going to moan about microphones for a bit. Why not? I've got a book that's in the process of being written, and we're in that limbo period, right? Now, we could just plod along like nothing's going on, but things are going on. We all know there's things going on. There's things in the pipeline, as they say. Now, those things are going to come to fruition shortly. But in the meantime, life goes on around us. It's spring. I'm always in a really upbeat mood in this particular part of the year. Every year, almost without exception. It just brings me great joy. You know, it's still quite chilly as we go into spring, but it's lovely. The weather's clear, sunny, crisp.
Yeah, because it's really New Year. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Exactly. It feels new because it is, right? So I'm always motivated when it comes to this particular part of the year because I look forward to how much of the niceness there is ahead in the what you've just called New Year, spring. So I'm upbeat. I'm happy. Obviously, I've got things that are going on that's stressful, more so at the current time in my life because I've got other things that I don't normally do going on that are new and exciting. In the case of microphones, some people were like, new and exciting? It's just microphones. I'm like, yeah, but I've turned it into a little business as a side hustle to keep me my head above water, where typically I'm just about keeping my head above water by e-begging. Literally. Well, I haven't had enough time to e-beg. That's not true. Times are tough. And therefore, while we're writing the book, there's no time to put in the extra effort with extra videos and things. So for that reason, I've fallen back on, while I'm telling my daughters all this stuff. You need a couple of extra, strings to your bow. This is what I'm telling my kids. You need to be able to learn a couple of other skills. This is what I'm trying to justify them learning several languages. Like, what happens if all else fails and you don't become a famous YouTuber or a famous singer or whatever it is that your dreams and desires would lead you towards? You've got to be able to fall back and be something boring like an accountant. So you need other skills. And for me, it's sales and purchasing in the case of what I'm doing currently. So I'm leaning back on that so that I can still keep my lights on because there's only so much e-begging you can do. It becomes distasteful.
Yeah, just extra 10 grand like some people. Just say, hey, you got 10 grand?
That's what we were talking about in the pre-show, right? Witsit was putting out a call to action to fund 10 grand, but he wouldn't say what for. Now, speculatively, someone in the pre-show was like, maybe he's getting divorced. Like, don't do that. That's not necessary. I know, strictly speaking, I'm now doing it in this live show. I'm now bringing it up, but I'm referencing back to someone else who I'm blaming for that. Now, we wouldn't in any way want to suggest that that is the case. But speculatively, people are going to speculate, right? And that's what the speculation has led to in my pre-show, even though the guys got told off. Now, if there was next man in line kicking this can, he could tell me off, going, well, now you've just raised it to your audience, so they're going to scratch their head and speculate about it, aren't they? Now, that is not my desire. It's an example in this instance, right? It's a true example. I'm not just making it up. Someone did suggest that in the pre-show, right? But I don't suggest that. Whatever his reasons are, he probably has the same reason as me. Why does he need money? Because he's poor. Same as me, right? Why do I have to take on a second job? Well, because I'm poor. Like anybody who does anything almost ever, you know what I mean? We're driven to survive. So, you know, him putting his hand out is his motivation is survival. Good for you, Witsit. You know, some of us have done other things that, you know, other people find quite egregious, actually. It's not all of you out there don't like me talking about microphones. But some of you really do hate me talking about them. Tough luck. In the meantime, we're writing a book, and it's going to be something that you can hopefully buy and support me that way. So if I tell you to go and buy a microphone, you're probably going to go, what? I don't want a microphone. But if I say go and buy my Flat Earth book, you can put it on your neighbour's table and absolutely rock their world, you might be more inclined as an audience of Flat Earth debate, right? Well, that'll be coming, and it's getting ever more polished as time goes by. We're going to be doing it later, in fact, today. So very exciting times. But in the interim, like a clockwork, like a clock, we're still going around ticking through the motions, and we will still do a little bit of housekeeping. So feel free to pipe up if you choose to from the Discord server in relation to any questions, any answers to any questions that are asked over the next 10 minutes or so. So any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Ridiculous.
Anyone from Discord? Any updates? Anybody heard from Paul Voigt? It's only been 7 years.
Oh, he's the guy that got the housekeeping going, wasn't he? Kind of, in a way,
is, yeah.
right?
Well, no, he is. I mean, well, no, the concept of housekeeping comes from Anthony Riley wanting to keep track of what we'd overcome in the argument so that we wouldn't forget. And because he was sick of people rinsing and repeating. So let's say from Anthony Riley's perspective, this is Sleeping Warrior, for those who don't know. He's a YouTuber who's moved on to other things. Certainly still a flat earther, as far as I'm aware. I only spoke to him about a week ago. But anyway, the point being that he was sick of people rinsing and repeating the arguments. And he's like, how can we stop that from occurring? It's like, we must document the wins that we get so that they're kept in the mind's eye of the audience, or our audience. And it's not like we will overcome how gravity is not a force, go through the argument for an hour or 5 with somebody to the point of concession or not. And then it just comes up the following day, yeah, gravity's a force again. You're like, no. We need something to mark these wins in a format that is self-explanatory, but invites, response. So the case of gravity, as I'm using it in the example, asking the question, is there any scientific evidence of gravity? Seems like a minor alteration, right? Well, no, it's fundamental to the question. The illusion of gravity that is a force or otherwise, for that matter, is given to you through the, let's call it, illusion of science. Right? I was going to say that the suggestion of the gravity is illuminated by the suggestion of science. Right? There's a light that is seemingly cast upon the suggestion of gravity with words like hypothesis and theory, where none exists because there is no force. It's not been a force for 110 years, and the bent pseudo-geometry of Einstein is a pseudo-geometry in mathematical descriptions of things that don't exist in reality. We don't have a fourth dimension. But asking for the scientific evidence of gravity puts your opponent in the position where they have to justify what they've been told about gravity with a scientific backing. So yeah, the questions, housekeeping questions, have been put into effect because of that rinse and repeat nature of dealing with the subject matter at hand. And to stop that, we've got a set of questions that we can ask on a daily basis that keeps everything we've covered in the forefront of people's mind. And it's the same. Simultaneously the same reason that we keep adding to them, because there are always new monumental defeats that people must face. And in terms of the phraseology of some of the more obvious ones, like any physical geometric sphere edge horizons, formerly known as Earth curve, there's quite a few little caveats that are adding in black swan elements to the question. Formerly known as Earth curve? What is it, refraction? I'm waiting for that guy to say, why do you say formerly known as Earth curve? It's like, well, yeah, because you dickheads used to think that there was a physical blockage to boats and stuff. And then we debunked it and you told us how refracted it was from then until now. And if you don't know what I'm talking
but
about,
I don't like that either. I don't like that formerly known because it was never. And I don't like the freaking gravity being 110 years out of date. Because when you say that, it's like gravity was a real thing 110 years ago. We got to rephrase it.
What Neil is suggesting to my audience, see how many people are watching. Please share the show if you've not done so already. Do the call to action, but you might have only just got here. So, nudge, nudge, smash that share button. What Neil's suggesting is that when I say gravity as a force has been superseded 110 years ago, Neil's saying, well, just because it was suggested to be a force pre-Einstein doesn't mean it ever was a force. Now, if you can come up with a concise phraseology for me to ask these questions and point out in the question that there is an illusory force that was never really a force, but people think is a force, and you can think of as it a force, whatever, Neil, right? Yeah, I'm all for it, right? You help me out with my phraseology.
I'll get to work on that. Hey, remember I told you really quick that there's these people in what is it that whatever on those shorts showing that they got $400 orders from Instacart. Well, I just got one for $107.
Woohoo! Off you go. Yeah, getting orders is always fabulous. Although it's, in case anybody cares, which you probably don't, when you're flogging things, there's always the 1 in 10 rule applied to that at the back end. So it's like, I'll get to buy a microphone cheap for every 10 people I approach about their microphone sale. I might get to buy one for cheap, or for the price that's potentially profitable. But then for every 10 customers that come along that start looking at it within 10 to buy, one of them might buy it. And then further to that 1 in 10 rule, for every 10 that you sell, one will be a pain in the ass faulty customer and give you a pain, right?
Yes,
so it's the rule of 10. Well, today I had my rule of 10 apply. So I've actually, happy joy, I was telling my wife, I was like, I've sold 10. I was telling my mom too, I've sold 10 microphones. I'm really pleased, right? It's monumental, right? It's just because it's statistically significant, right? I can write that down and start relating things back to it. Well, the first thing I can relate back to is that faulty customer I was just talking about. So a guy calls me, or sends a refund request, says, this mic doesn't work, I can't get it to work. Now, bearing in mind, everything I've flogged so far, without exception, I have tested really thoroughly, to the point where I'm asking people on the show, you included, Neil, how does this sound? Right? Now, when I get a, yeah, it sounds all right, I can't really tell any different, you can obviously hear me, it obviously functions, it obviously works, right? That's the type of mic I sell. Now, I'm not cheap, but I do sell them working because they're thoroughly tested. Then I'll buy a few adapters for them so that they're almost, I say almost, idiot proof. So when it arrives, doesn't matter what you've got, I can guess that you'll have something like X, and it will probably require X adapter or connector. So if I make sure that all of them leave semi-idiot proof, I'm confident that I can justify my higher price when I add a load of money on the cheap price I bought them for, right? But then you get that 1 in 10 customer that's like, I can't get it to work. And you're back and forth with messages with a refund request over your head, trying to get this person to figure out how to get their microphone to work. Because they just want it to work, and I get that. I'm empathetic. And I like microphones like I like technology, so I don't mind talking to some faulty customer through his ignorance of his own equipment and trying to get it to work. Now, at the end of that process, if you fail, that is to say the faulty customer can't get what you damn well know is a working microphone to work, you just have to accept that, in this case, I'll have to give the guy his 50 quid back, and I'll have to ship it probably at my expense back to me, only to try and flog it again after doing a quick test to make sure, no, it absolutely still works. But that's life, right? That's part of business. If you want to have a second job to keep your lights on while you're a YouTuber, in this case for me, it's doing it with microphones. Now, I've got to try and keep this segue as short as possible, otherwise I definitely will annoy the people who couldn't care less about this particular endeavour I'm currently embarking on, because they just want to know about Earth being measured flat, which is perfectly reasonable. So it will come to a close now. I'm done moaning about my faulty customer. And I can get back to the agenda, which is telling people how Earth is measured flat. Should we pick one to tell him about and stick it in the housekeeping, Neil? Oh, he's off on his $110 super duper delivery, right?
Yes, I am. I had to pick up my wife because I can't do this on my own. It's a lot of things, but well, actually, it's 60 items, but that's not too bad. My wife's a machine.
Fair enough. Well, that'll go hopefully quite well for you. We'll carry on with a bit of housekeeping. Let's just check everyone's awake in Discord. You all awake in Discord? If I continue with housekeeping? No, I'm going to carry on talking about microphones. Literally no response. Is going to get a microphone discussion for the next 20 minutes, I assure you. Wakey wakey Discord. No? Fair enough. Well, what I've been doing is putting all of my knowledge... Gotta make it stop. Go ahead, whoever that was. Who was that?
We're asleep at the wheel.
No, that's Neil you're thinking of. He spent a significant time in hospital as a result of that. It was very expensive. He wouldn't want to repeat it.
Too soon.
Is it too soon?
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Eli. How is it going?
Pretty all right. I'm actually going to Florida tomorrow.
What's Florida like in the spring?
As hot as it is any other time, I guess.
Fair enough. Florida's when I've been to Florida, it's always been beautiful and lovely and nice weather, more importantly than anything.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's not true. I went for a hurricane party in Florida and was nailed into a bar in what's the islands? Is it the Keys?
Yeah.
Yeah, at one of the really southerly tips on one of those little islands. I was nailed in when a hurricane came. So it is lovely most of the time, and then they occasionally get a hurricane. So it's not all good. Kind of rough all over generally, because Kiwi's been sticking his weather reports up because he's in must be in Tornado Alley or something like that, because he's always showing how terrible his weather is.
Yeah, always. He had his weather is really mixy. Whereas here you get the 4 seasons. For him, it could be raining, it could be snow, nobody's business, and it could be a beautiful day, all in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I believe it. Totally believe it. I mean, it's a flat Earth.
I had hurricane parties in New Orleans too, all the time.
I don't doubt it. What's it like now? Is it anywhere in any state to be inhabited yet? Probably not. Anyway, that's depressing. Weather itself is a flat Earth proof. Refracted curvature was talking about it the other day. Talking about the horizontal planes that you talk about with the pressure gradiated. To describe them, you need horizontal planes of reference to describe them with. You're like, oh yeah, of course you do. Yeah, that makes total sense. All of the altitudes, everything's described with respect to sea level and flat planes of reference, including the layers, if you want to call them that, of gradiated pressure at the various different altitudes in bands that are horizontal. Right? So it's all with respect to a flat plane. Weather needs a flat Earth to describe it. Well, I'm glad that got everyone in the Discord server warmed up. So one of the things I've been trying to achieve, right, when I've been buying these microphones is knowing...
Oh, wait, time out, Nathan. Do you hear... you do?
I'm encouraging interruption at this point, Eli. I will talk about it. I'm not keen to. But if no one's talking back...
Oh, no, because Heyoka was talking. I wasn't sure if you were just, messing with him or...
Oh, no, I've got him on mute. Sorry, Heyoka.
No.
You were hot micing yesterday, so I had to put you on mute, but I only had you on local mute.
Am I on mute now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. You're not hot micing anymore, fortunately.
I wondered, is it correct? Is it correct to say that a 1 degree angle to Polaris equals 69 miles on the ground?
69 statute miles.
Yeah, 69 miles. Statute miles, yeah.
Seems like you already know the answer, eh? Why are you asking? Why are you asking?
Sorry, I lost connection. Oh, but it's okay. It's okay to say that. Is that what?
Well, you phrased it like it was a question, and I'm asking, given that you know it's the answer.
Okay, that's fine, because there's some guys who are saying you've got no observable data for that, and they say that's not true.
Oh, I saw my Neil Young microphone. Fantastic. It was broken. It never worked. Couldn't get it working. I'm sorry.
I hope you made a
totally
profit and not a loss this time.
Just say again. Sorry, I was completely distracted. I sold a microphone. What was your question?
I said I hope you made a profit this time.
I always make a profit.
Oh, so if you have a 1 degree angle to Polaris and it's 69 miles on the ground, then that gives you a distance to the equator, I guess.
But a second ago, it was phrased as though it's a question. Now, part of your question has become a statement of fact in your next question. So ultimately, you already knew, like I'd already answered you. You didn't respond when I first said it. Now you seem to be opening your mic and talking while I'm talking, pointing out what is going on. So you asked it initially as though it was a question, but it's fundamental, like foundational to the next question that you've asked. Now, I pointed out that it seemed like you already knew the answer to that question. It's the second interruption in me trying to point out what's going on to my audience. Fun though this isn't, we'll try a third time to get to the end of this single sentence, summarising this nonsense waffle that you seem to be asking me about, even though you already know the answers.
Okay, I was just checking because, sometimes I ask you a question and you say, no, I never said that. Huh?
Checking what? You already know the answers to these questions that you're asking.
The 1 degree angle. Oh, hang on. I'm checking. It's okay to say that the 1 degree angle to Polaris is 69 miles on the ground. And then you have.
Is that a question or is that rhetorical? So is it foundational to your next statement, rhetorical, or a question that you want answering? Which one is it?
Oh, it's fundamental.
It's a bit of a stutter. This guy's a wanker. Yes, it's a bit of a stuttery mess when I ask you, is it rhetorical? Is it foundational to your next statement? Or are you actually inquiring because you don't know the answer? Which one is it? That wasn't a it's been repeated.
I said it's foundational.
Oh, right. So why did you ask it as a question, like it was an if statement, if it's foundational?
I explained that sometimes I ask you a question and you say you never said it. So I'm just checking.
So you need to check whether or not foundational statements have been stated by me?
Yep.
Why?
Because sometimes...
Do you need to go to the toilet, sir? Do you have a slight bit of constipation?
No.
Then, why are you struggling for that next word there, sir? Thinking on your feet, not a bit of a struggle for you there, stuttery? Or is it just talking through me while I humiliate you with your nonsense waffle that's trying to test me? Yeah, we don't need to test me on whether or not I've stated foundational statements there, Heyoka. It's not necessary.
Okay, and the circumference of the...
So sit down and shut up. Yeah? I'm not going to start testing you on stuff. There's no need for this. So do you want to sit down and shut up?
Do
you stutter when I humiliate you with your abject nonsense about foundational statements that I have maybe stated or not? Shut up. You're getting told what to do now. Do you understand me? Shut up. Sit down.
But you have a distance to the equator.
Oh, do you not understand why being told to shut up means? You got nothing of value.
I heard 10th man told you. I heard.
God, let's shut him up. Dickhead. What an idiot. Got nothing of value other than to test me on statements that he asks as questions but knows to be foundational when quizzed, with a lot of stuttering and sounding constipated. Now he's telling me what 10th Man's told me, so he can quiz me about my education from 10th Man. This is not a show where you test Nathan about foundational statements you know to be true before you're asking me about them. Yeah, that's a shit test. Everyone know what a shit test is? Yeah, that's what women do on men. Now, I'm not going to be shit tested by some little pervert. Yeah? Some little masochistic pervert that gets off on this stuff? No, thank you. Get lost. Now, if you actually want to know something that's not foundational to your next bleeding statement, don't ask me about it. Get lost. Go and entertain yourself, amuse yourself. That would be to masturbate mentally, metaphorically, elsewhere. Yeah, sold the Neil Young microphone. Woohoo! I'm going to show you. I'm going to put it on camera. I'm so excited. So I hate it when you can't get them working. Obviously, you want to keep them all, right? And if they don't sell, you don't mind if they don't, fail. So this microphone, let's grab it. Oh, my panels are falling everywhere. So this is the Neil Young microphone. On my eBay store, I got a picture of one of the band members holding it. But it doesn't work, so it's not a keeper. So I started off at about 100 quid for this, and it's just not worth that if it's not working. And I've seen people advertising them for like 60 or 70 quid. But the reason I wanted to put it on camera is because I've got to be honest, this is possibly one of the most beautiful microphones in terms of its physical appearance. And in a way, even though it doesn't work, it's one way you kind of would still want to keep it anyway because it just looks so pretty. But yeah, it's got like a base that attaches to a hinge, and then that screws in with like a normal microphone attachment on the bottom of the base, same attachment that you'd have like for a microphone clip. But this is the Neil Young microphone, and it's obviously got quite a feminine shape to it. It's got some nice curves to it. Can you see that? Let's put it against my t-shirt. There we go. So you can see the shape of it. But this is just sold on eBay, which I'm not at all heartbroken about. Whereas with a lot of the mics I sell, I am actually heartbroken because I wanted, you buy them and use them. And you're like, oh, this is cool. I want to keep this. And you kind of lose track of the purpose of doing it, just to keep the lights on. But you do have to let them go. Whereas with this one, it doesn't work. So you're like, I don't mind letting it go. Maybe it's just the switch that's broken and someone will get it working because the capsule seems fine. I've not tested it, but I've checked it and it's all wired up perfectly fine. Anyway, so it's been a microphone show. Smash that super chat if you want me to talk about microphones that little bit less. It's not true. I'll still talk about them. I'm passionate about them. So anyway, that's the Neil Young microphone that I've just flogged. And yeah, I'll stick it in a package and it'll go off to its new eBay buyer home later on today after the show's ended. Happy days, happy days. I've bought a shed ton of microphones. So over the last, 2-3 days since Easter, I've lined up a whole pipeline of stuff to buy. And while people have been bored of me talking about microphones when it's been me selling them, you'll get a lot more bored about me buying them while I'm haggling with people over turds to polish, which is a lot of them, what a lot of them are. They're old-fashioned 60s and 70s mics that have definitely got a purpose. And, using probably late 80s, early 90s mic, this Neumann that I'm using, is still an old vintage mic if you want to look at it in one way. And it's definitely got life in it. And I see the same for all of these mics. These mics might be doing podcasts, might be doing what we're doing here, right? Talking to people about how Earth is flat. And all of them, as I hold on to this thing with a bit of nostalgic history in my eyes as I'm holding it, thinking, all of these mics have done something, right? They've all got a bit of history attached to them. This has been producing some sound to go onto some tape recorder or onto some, in the case of this setup, right, onto some digital recording format. And they're all, to me, like a little piece of history. And I want all of the mics like these ones behind me. You can probably see this one with a little sock on it. This is the ABBA mic. I want them all to continue doing exactly that, right? Creating a little bit of history, dedicating something to a bit of tape or a bit of digital media so that it can be viewed or heard, in this case, by others. So I don't know, I like the historic element of this particular type of artifact, a microphone, especially when they're used. because they've already got a certain amount of nostalgia attached to whoever has used it in the past and loved it, in the same way as I love this microphone, right? Because it's doing what it's doing now, and you seldom think about that when you're on the receiving end of a video like this. If you're a viewer of a YouTube video, you don't think of all of the work and skill and dedication from engineers and then people in the factory line actually producing the damn thing, so that it can be sat at the end of a boom pole producing a sound so that you can listen to me talk about how I've just flogged a Neil Young microphone on eBay. But to me, that's something very, very special, and something that I hope I brush off on the people that buy things from me when it comes to these things, because I've only got microphones to sell. It's not like I'm flogging anything else other than microphones. And it's because I enjoy them. You know, I enjoy the basic principle of being able to communicate via, in this case, an absolute technological marvel, the internet, with OBS, with voice meter banana, with a nice Neumann microphone. This is an absolute technological wonder. So for me to be able to tell you that Earth is measured flat via all of that equipment might be a similar destiny for something like this, if it worked, which this one doesn't. It's broken. So there we go. So this one definitely isn't going to be doing that, but it's going to be on someone's mantle, I would imagine, because it's so pretty. Someone's just bought it because they like the look of it and like the nostalgic fact that it's, you know, used by Neil Young. There we go. That's my nostalgia for the day. Other than testing us, right, what is it that the ballers have got to do other than try and wind us up now? Test our knowledge. And if it was somebody with good intentions, right, when QE does that, because in some ways there's a very fine line between how QE behaves with me and someone like, not necessarily Heyoka, but someone similar, right, where they want to test your abilities, you know, push you. Well, sometimes a mentor, which QE is to me, do very similar things, right? They do want to push you, sometimes push you a little bit over the edge to make a point clear, or humble you, whatever the reason. But typically with a mentor, they've got your best, your best of intent they have got, and they've got your best of intentions at heart when they do that. Whereas when our opponents do it, what is the reason? What motivates them? Now, I'm not suggesting we all fallaciously appeal to their motivation as some argument response. I'm suggesting that it's worth pondering why someone might do this. Yeah? What is it that fulfills a desire in someone like Heyoka to test someone like me? Now, he's not trying to better me, I know that for certain. So what's in it for him is what I immediately respond to that with. You know, empathically, I go, well, what purpose does this serve for you? How does this benefit you? What is in it for you? Well, I'm not going to direct this to him rhetorically, because his motivation from a nefarious perspective has already been made clear. I've elucidated that through my questioning about his questioning. That's already been done. But from an audience perspective, you can do the same, right? You can reflect inwardly, like we were discussing on yesterday's show, about why someone would want to project their pain directly onto you if you're a flurf, or you've been asked, like in the case of that fittest flat earther. You've got the flat earth. I'm just putting my back on my ab mic. I'm fussy about dust getting in it. You've got to question why they would want to share their pain with you, which is all this is. Why does the pastor want to project out his pain onto his congregation, only to tell his congregation that he's already looked into it? Why would somebody behave that way? Now, I get that with Heyoka, it might seem like I'm playing dumb. There's a perception of the guru. It doesn't take long. You come into, hey, chocolate, this arena as an upstart. And then a couple of years in, you're established as a community member. 5 or 6 years in, you're an expert. By the time you're 10 years into flat earthism, you're a guru, right? Now, I recognise there's a certain level of importance. I've been told this for the last couple of months, right? And it's been forced into me that I must recognise and respect the responsibility that I've rightfully earned. But there's a status that you achieve, and therefore that's why I'm being tested by someone like Heyoka. As much as me now pointing it out and glorifying it is going to piss someone like that off royally. I don't care. I know my status. I'm not afraid to highlight it. and highlight the reason people want to test me. Now, I don't mind admitting ignorance. I don't know everything. I found myself in a guru position because of being here for 10 years, and mostly I get by because of the information I've had given to me by the people around me, smarter than myself. But isn't that true of everybody always? Most of the time?
Yeah. And good morning.
Hello. Point being, once you recognise that, you can then start turning the finger or turning the assessment back on the person that's sharing their pain, as we call it. Why would you want to do this? Yeah? What are you going to get out of it? Now, you're easy to boil down because it's mentally easy to cope with. They're just paid to do it, right? They're just motivated by money. People are just that simple. It's just that black and white. If someone gives them money and they go and do it, it's like, nah. In life, currency has many, many forms, and the little pieces of paper that we purchase things with isn't actually very high, you'd be surprised, in people's pecking order. What motivates them? Money they think motivates them. But it's often not. It's often something much, much closer to their heart or mind than merely the means of purchasing things. Whereas when people are like, paid shills, it's like, oh, come on. Don't boil this down to something so egregiously simple as this person was motivated by money and just did it for cash. No. Right? I don't know, I feel lucky that I recognised this many years ago. That I can't remember, it was a different guru that actually probably told me this, right? I don't want to give credit, but I'm just going to suggest that it came to me via a guru, as that's the topic. But there's more to life than money, and you have to kind of strike a balance between what you want out of life. Now, I'm very happy at the moment because I've got a very happy family. I sleep well. I'm tired. I do have to do a lot of work, but I get to spend all the time in the world that I want to with the two little sods that make a shit ton of noise. You know what I'm getting at. In other words, you can get annoyed with your kids when they're around you, but ultimately there's a reason they're around me, not in school, because I want them to be there. And being able to do that in life is the reason that I haven't got a great deal of money to afford to buy maybe a whole warehouse full of new microphones, right? Well, life has more to offer than just the means of purchasing things. Some people recognise that really early on. Some people never recognise it and they die thinking that they need to keep a few pennies one side. You can't take any of it with you. But like I say, other things motivate people. Shame motivates people greatly. Yeah? The fear of humiliation. I can't believe now I've started looking into this, what a massive driving force that is in people's lives. Right? People are generally self-absorbed. They think everything revolves around them and everything is directed towards them. So some minor little glance up from someone else while they're thinking about something else, people perceive to be directed at them. The same with some utterance of flat earth. Go ahead, Chocolate. Is that Chocolate? Or was it Eli? I didn't actually genuinely know who that was. Oh, Eli's on server deafen, so it must have been Chocolate.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think in the past maybe decade, I think one of the biggest motivators for a lot of these people that consider themselves our opponents are to make us sound wrong or to prove us wrong. Because there's this notion that, oh, because somebody thinks the earth is flat, they have to be wrong about everything. It's the strangest thing in the world. You know, like what's the motivation behind that? When we were literally people that just learned the same things that you guys did. You know, that's always been what's weird to me. It's like we're all coming into this information, and for some reason you're taking it in a way in which you think, oh, we know something better than you. No, we're here talking to you about it so that you can understand it. You know, and it's I don't know, it's strange, but I think you're right that might be a slightly bigger motivation than just plain money. You know what I mean? I
Oh,
don't know if that makes
absolutely.
sense.
Yeah, it drives them absolutely nuts, and they need somebody to project that onto. We're there lapping that up like we showed on yesterday's video with that fittest flat earther guy. Right? He's there for the guy, the pastor, to project onto. He's there willing and available.
And I kind of felt for that guy because what he said in the video, he's like, I'm back in church because of flat earth. And I go to the church and then I get insulted by the guy who's supposedly the leader of this congregation. That's crazy. And it is. It really is.
Yeah. To the audience, it's worth asking before you start engaging with people about flat earth, if they're already asking the question or demoting it, demeaning it, rather than trying to overcome their concerns about it, recognize that it is their concerns. Even if they're saying, oh, these flat earthers think that, and then insert their concern here, and then they look at you to answer that concern that they've got.
Yep. And I've got proof of that because once I started talking to my coworkers about it, you know, I wasn't the type to just run up on them and ask them, well, all right, let me take that back. For a little bit, I was running up on people, just be like, hey, excuse me, where's the earth? Where's the curve of the earth? You know, like real silly with it. But after a while, I left that alone. And then they almost took the reins over for me. They started coming to me and asking me questions and wanting to know, oh, where's the flatness and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, is this bothering you now? Is that why are you talking? I thought you didn't like talking about this. Why are you talking to me about it? All right, so let's talk about it while we are. People are funny with this, man. The amusement goes beyond the Discord and the internet servers. Like when you do this in real life, like when you talk to people about this stuff in real life, it becomes very entertaining and amusing. Sometimes a little sad because it's weird to see how people react to just having a conversation about a subject, just talking about the ground. They take it to a whole extreme, but I understand the ground has become a religion to a lot of people. Because if you believe that the ground is a ball going somewhere, that's a religion.
I was about to say the ground has become the sky. You know when you say the ground's going somewhere? Well, that somewhere is a place like on screen, right? I know it's the pancake that we oppose also, but nevertheless, the somewhere is the sky vacuum. So the ground becomes, well, we used to ask the question, let's put it a different way, Chocolate. Why is it that we're always talking about the lights when we're talking about the debate about the nature of the ground? It's like, well, because the ground has become the light, the sky, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, look up in the sky. You can see the earth is a globe. Like, huh? The ground isn't in the sky. Why would I look up to the sky to know what the ground is? That's a little weird. Right? So, yeah.
But the ground is in the sky, in their mind. And the lights in the sky are the ground. The lights in the sky are soil, as far as you are concerned, if you're a baller.
Yeah. More ground.
Yeah, the lights are more ground. Yeah, that's bonkers, isn't it? Now you think about, on reflection, you look up at Mars and go, well, that's a load of soil in the sky.
That we could send a rover to, or maybe a helicopter. Let's forget that there's no atmosphere up there, or very little, according to them. But yeah, let's send a helicopter and a rover to the ground that's in the sky. Yeah, it's a little strange.
Yeah, ignoring the straight-up second law of thermodynamics violation that is the gas not filling a sky vacuum, the lights at night are people's perception of soil being the sky. When you think about it in those terms, that's what you think the sky is. You think the sky is the ground. You think the sky is the soil, and that we're just amongst the soil that is the ground, that is part of the sky. So the soil comes from the sky in their rhetoric, quite figuratively and literally. Yeah? The ground itself has arrived from the frickin' sky in their rhetoric. It has though, hasn't it? Yeah, bonkers. it's really interesting to look back on it. But when you do, you go, wow, I was so naive, I was so deceived, I was so stupid. And then you go, hang on a second. Is that why I'm having this projected onto me by this third party? Yes. Yes, it is. Being at one with that means you can recognise that you don't need to project that onto the third party that is us as a flat earther when someone comes across it and goes, I don't want to deal with this. Flat earthers are stupid. Yes, that's a much better way of dealing with it. Flat earthers are stupid. Let me tell you how these stupid flat earthers thought what I was thinking 5 seconds ago and they were wrong about it.
Yeah.
So there we go. I tried to get my microphone sentence out about 4 times and Eli interrupted it. But after doing a bucket ton of research on microphones, right, what I've found is that there's a certain break point where they become almost worthless because people don't know if they work or not. So people don't, they go from being worth, say, £30 or £40 actual value to nothing right quick because people won't take the risk on whether or not a microphone works. So then you go, okay, well, if you find some obscure microphone, you can do a bucket ton of research. Let's say it takes 15 to 20 minutes of scrolling through forums and finding people's opinions and people who've used them and their discussions on them and who made them and how they made them. And you can actually fairly quickly figure out if something's nice or not, right? And then buy it and then sell it for its actual value, showing that it works. And in so doing, you can, I don't know, make 10 or 15 pounds profit if it's a £40 item, which is lovely, right? And that's all I'm trying to achieve. So in some of the adverts I've been doing for these microphones, I'm saying exactly that. This is a really good mic. It's just nobody knows it's a really good mic. So here's how it sounds. Now, it'd been nice to have done that with the Neil Young microphone, but I never got to hear how it sounded. But with all the others, I do a quick sound check. I did it with a Philips yesterday, and I got the reaction in the advert. So I'm saying some of the people on my panel said they couldn't tell the difference between this and my Neumann. And then I cut to, in the advert, in the video in the advert on eBay, I've got a little video of the mic working while I'm talking to Neil on it, and Neil's going, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I can't even tell the difference. And then someone from Discord going, yeah, that sounds really nice. While I'm talking on some Philips condenser from the 1970s. You're like, great. So I can trim that out and someone can say, well, at least at some level, some people can't tell the difference between that and a really expensive microphone. Now, obviously, the really expensive microphone's better. It is better. Or otherwise I'd be using the Philips, wouldn't I? I'm not. But the point is, it's showing that it works. Functionally, it's good, sounds nice enough, and I can then stick that in the advert. Well, there's a whole bunch of them, so if you hated me talking about mics, you're going to see a whole bunch of 60-second or less videos, because that's what eBay accepts, going up on my channel. And fortunately, the YouTube algorithm is smart enough to not deliver them to you. So if you're here for flat earth content, they won't deliver them to you for the most part. It might suggest them, you might see it in your subscription feed, but it's not going to, ram them down your throat. But I do need them because I need them to go in the adverts. And until the book's written, I need the revenue, unfortunately. Now, I'm not going to suggest that, you need to start smashing the super chat to bolster my revenue, or I'm not going to start a GoFundMe like Witsit did. I can just make a few mic videos. Now, if we can all agree, that's my audience and myself, that you won't mention the mic videos going out that are like, this isn't Flat Earth. He hasn't mentioned Flat Earth once. He said it got a really good noise feedback rejection. He said there was great gain before feedback. What has that got to do with Flat Earth? Nothing. It's just a side hustle to keep me going while we write a book. Chill. It's all good. Doesn't mean we're not going to make Flat Earth content on a daily basis. I want to be sat here. This is fun. So if I wasn't doing this, I'd probably go nuts. So, the whole purpose of doing the mic videos is to make sure I can still do this. Yeah, not the other way around. I'm not segueing into mics. I'm already kind of getting a bit sick of it when I've got to that 1 in 10 customers that's not happy for whatever reason, faulty or otherwise. The customer, that is, not my product. But anyway, I want to be sat here doing Flat Earth videos. That's the main aim. The initial reason for getting mics as a thing to sell was because I wanted to improve the mic, to improve the quality of the sound on the show when it was a bit honky from the old Rode NTG3, which is a broadcast mic designed to be outside and therefore has a very elevated bass response, which some people like for voiceovers, but for me it just made me sound hoinky, like that's all I could ever hear from the NTG3. Now, could I have just EQ'd it out? Yes. But instead, I went through the endeavour of starting a little new business and getting myself a nice new Neumann for next to nothing. So that's what I've done instead of just putting a little cut in that particular frequency. Because that's what normal people do. The real reason is because, and this is true for any microphone, right? Why does any microphone get any job for any purpose ever? It's because it makes life easier. So, for instance, if there's a particular mic that will make a cymbal sound brighter, because it's a particularly bright microphone, and what you want out of that cymbal is a bright sound, then not having to do anything on the desk, that's to say not having to twiddle a little treble knob to make it go higher in that particular region of frequency, because you just plug the mic in and it does it automatically because it's already got that characteristic. An engineer will pick that mic to do that job every single time. Now, if I can find a mic that sounds good on my voice, it has the same effect when I go out to anybody else if I'm going out and doing promotion for the book. Probably thinking, is this going somewhere? Yeah, absolutely is. So you're like, well, what's the point? Well, I say I could just put a little frequency cut in and the NTG3 would sound great, right? No, when I'm out on someone else's show, I have to rely on the sound source, me, going through the electricity lines, if you will, digitizing and coming out the other end and still sounding nice, without them at the other end doing what I would do with my old mic, which is put a little dip in the frequencies that aren't nice. So you want a mic that's got that characteristic already. For me, so far, this one that I'm using does that. So what does this all mean? It means that when I'm going on, let's say, Mark Sargent's show, so I get in touch with Mark and say, right, book's coming out imminently. We need to set you up with an affiliate link so that when the book sells, you get 30%. Then, when that's all done and it's out, I need to come on your show. When I do go on his show, I want to know that Mark's audience will receive what I say in the highest fidelity. It sounds nice. There's nothing honky or hoiny about my voice when it's coming through Mark's equipment, for example. So that was the whole purpose of doing this. Literally. And whilst doing it, I knew that I was going to be voicing over the book. So, for that reason, I've also gone out of my way to find a second mic specifically for doing voiceovers. That is to say, adding on top of a video, if it's an edited video, I used to just use the iPad mic. Well, now I've bought a second mic, an AKG, that is, it's dormant. Its only purpose will be for edited videos and the voicing over of the book once it's done. So again, all microphone related. Yeah, having researched what I would need to do a voiceover in an exceptionally well-treated room, which this is. Yeah, and when I'm saying to people on my own side that are helping me do the book and edit the book currently, that, oh, well, could I not just get AI to voice the book for the ebook? And they're all like, no, people will expect you to have read this book into the, equipment and, make it and edit it and turn it into an ebook or whatever you call it, the read version, spoken version of the book. So I know that that's done. That's going to be something I'm going to be doing. So again, I've picked microphones for that. So it's one of those things that's segued into me selling them naturally, right? Because I want a good microphone to do a voiceover for the book. Now, eventually, I'll flog all this crap and it'll keep the mortgage paid temporarily. And then the book will start doing that, right? The book will sell. And then every so often I'll look and go, oh, great, I've got 30% of whatever the book's sold for. I don't know what it's going to be yet. I haven't got a clue. But that'll be the supplementary revenue that will keep me going and keep the lights on, where currently flogging microphones at a small profit is doing that. So I won't be talking about microphones forever. I know there's people out there that want me to, that it could last forever, and they're just dreaming of me talking about microphones forever. But they're probably ballers who'd rather I was doing that than talking about how Earth's measured flat. So I know who you are. Yeah, I see you in the comments. No, I don't mind you talking about microphones at all. Yeah, it's because it means I'm not talking about Earth being measured flat, right? Don't think I don't see you. Yeah, I know your game. Yeah, it's not going to happen. That's just there to supplement this. This is the main deal. This is the main affair. Hello, Brian. Oh, hello, Nathan. To be sure, I'll be busy for a few minutes here, and then I'll get back to you. No worries, Brian. It's all good. It's good to have you. Aye, it's good to be here. Jolly good. 98
Excuse me, can I...
You're getting better at that.
I've stopped doing a Northern Irish accent. Ginger and civility. Whoever that was, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Hello. Thanks for all your work, first off.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I just wanted to segue back to the mics. Hopefully it won't bother or it will, the people interested in that topic. But I think I have an idea to get you away from that topic as well, in terms of I'm a translator, and we'd like to translate the book to Spanish. And I have a very wonderful co-translator, and she's got a very beautiful Spanish voice. And yeah, I can record. I'm a musician, so I've pretty dialed into that. And just wanted to touch base with you. I tried to get in touch, but it's been difficult. I'm busy and so on and so forth.
How'd you say your name? Ventriloquim? How'd you say it?
Ventriloquorum.
Ventriloquorum. Wow, I was never going to get that the first time. Beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. A lot of people have problems with it.
I love it.
It's a mouthful, yeah.
Oh, I love it. It's brilliant. Yeah, I definitely would endeavour to get in touch with you and Spanish translations and other language translations. Maybe not from yourself, but definitely that sounds like something that needs to be done. Spanish would be one of the first languages I'd want it to be in as a second language, as in first English, then Spanish. You know what I mean?
Wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, we'd really love to do it because we're really interested in that, the way you put it, and the fact that you're going to be recording it with your voice is really nice as well, because I think you've mentioned you're not quite the writer, you're more the speaker. And so that makes the audio version even more interesting, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if it's got my name in it, I'm on the cover and it's by Nathan Oakley, I should really read it rather than... I did actually initially contact a voice actor and everyone was like, I got so scorned. I'm like, well, I need to find out. I thought I was just going to hand it off to a voice actor. They're like, no, no, you're going to be reading this, I was promptly told. But there we go.
Those are the spin-offs, yeah.
But I do need someone else in a different language to speak it, or read it, I should say. Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely drop me a line. Yes, I will inquire with you once it's done.
Okay, great.
For sure.
Yeah, how should I do that best?
Just drop me an email, nathanoakley1980@aol.com.
Perfect. Okay, we'll be in touch then.
Marvellous. Oh, I'm glad that's nice. What a nice way to round out the show. Hello, Brian.
I was washing my hands. Come on. Yeah, when you called me there.
That's all right.
That was a nice way he put it. You're not so much the writing type. You're more of a big mouth.
Yeah. Yes. I brushed over that quite quickly. It's nice that you could re-highlighted it where I brushed over it quite abruptly.
I laughed out loud when you.
I'm sure you did. What Brian's been doing, right, while we've been going through this bastard, I can't believe I have to explain this. Thanks, Brian. So while we're going through the book, editing it, right, I don't say very much because it's other people's input brushing up on what's already on paper. So there's quite frequent periods where I'm sat doing literally nothing, not saying anything. And lots of things are happening around me with maybe Adam reading it and Flatsy typing and making alterations, or QE reading it and Adam making alterations, but ultimately me, with like I am now actually, I'm kind of taking the pose, should be on camera, sort of sat like this while I'm watching things happen. Now initially while that was going on, it was incredibly stressful because I was trying to get involved and I'd stick my 2 pennyworth in constantly to the point where I say tearing my hair out, I haven't got any, but if I had, I'd be tearing it out. And it was just driving me up the wall initially. Now, after time, I've chilled out, But there's a balance now because of Brian. You know, he's doing it just to piss me off. Where I've got to put in at least a couple of words, otherwise Brian will say, "Yeah, this isn't really Nathan's book. Yeah, it's really QE and Adam's book, isn't it?" And he's just doing it to piss me off and wind me up. And he knows he's successful. You can probably hear it in my stuttery voice. Cheeky sod.
Yeah, I'll often ask Nathan how his book is going.
Yes, very funny. Also, Brian, very funny.
How's your book going, Nathan?
Are you joining in with Adam's
It would be
book, he'll
impossible.
say? You joining in with Adam's book that he's writing for you?
Yeah.
Very amusing. But they have. I give them as much, for that reason, right? You can hear it on an almost daily basis when I talk about the book. I talk about my getting by with a bit of help from my friends and the amount of man hours that people are putting in. The reason it's gone from being just a casual flat earth book to a reference book is because of Adam. Not so much Brian. He's more of a hindrance, I would say. He's not taking
No,
that
you see, I can't join in on it. I can be there and say this or that, but I can't really join in on it because what I would do and what QE and Adam would do are two different things. Or would say or things, you know what I mean. So the problem is that even if Adam says to me, "How would you? What about this part? What let's say he or you know this kind of thing," I have to keep whatever I'm going to say very short and sweet because my way of going about things is different. How I write something will be different. So I kind of can't join in on it. You know, there's nothing I can do in that way.
Clear as mud.
Hello, I had a question about purchasing a mic from you. I'd like to support your all your work, and I wondered if you had something for sale that would be good and simple to hook up to a computer without additional equipment.
No. In simple answer, definitely not. They're all in requirement of an interface of some description between the computer and the mic. Don't buy a mic from me, right? That's not what I want people to do to support me, right? If you want to support me, buy the book when it comes out. Because you're
Well,
here,
I'm going to do that too, but
yeah, do that. So, in the meantime, go ahead. Go ahead, do whatever that was. No? Yeah, I mean,
you
that's
have a
very sweet of you.
recommendation for a decent mic that was simple to hook up to the computer to use to record?
Yeah, I don't have any. You're talking about a USB mic, and I've decided to specialise in more obscure microphones than USB mics. Not to demean anybody who uses a USB mic, they're wonderful. But that's just not what I'm flogging. But that's not what I want from my audience specifically, right? So when I'm putting out videos with the mics, and I'm putting out a link with the eBay link to the mic, it's not necessarily because I'm hoping to reach my flat earth audience to sell them a mic. I know that YouTube are smart enough to distribute that to people looking at mics. Therefore, they might be interested in buying a mic. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're genuinely interested in buying a mic, great, wonderful. Go to my eBay store. Everyone buy a mic. Wonderful. That'd be awesome. But that's not the purpose. And me wanting to talk about it on the show is because I'm just doing it. And it's a show that I run. So therefore, you talk about what you're doing. And obviously, if I can intertwine that with the fact that I use a mic and I talk about flat earth through it, it's pretty loose, right? I'll link it back. But it's not for the aim. It's not for the purpose of flogging mics to my flat earth audience. That's not why I'm doing it. Not at all. But I'm smiling because it's really sweet of you to say that. And I appreciate it. And it warms my heart that you'd even say that, right? Yeah? Thank you. I appreciate it. And it is indicative of the type of support I get from the Flat Earth community. I just don't want it to change from, we're supporting you because we really appreciate that you've spent 10 years studying Flat Earth to, what's that? You've spent the last month learning about mics. I'll support. No. That's just keeping the lights on. And my audience, I want them to buy a book. Right, that's what it's for. That's the only reason I'm flogging mics, so that the book hasn't got me. Although Brian does step in because I'm not getting in the way of the process with my stress and frustration with how it's being edited. Right, I'm getting out of the way so that it can go carry along with the polishing process and become the best book ever, ever. Right, I'm not going to intervene with that, with my woes about not being able to pay bills. I can just do something about that that's ancillary to flat earthing. But like I say, the fact that you're part of this community and want to support me in that way is so sweet. It literally warms my heart that you've said that. So thank you. I appreciate the sentiment.
Nathan, what's up?
Sky?
I got two questions for you.
Go ahead.
Okay, one, based on the incident last week, are you going to be going back to that place? Are you going to have your shows on Friday or?
Oh, what? By what incident? You mean me using the word nigger repeatedly?
24/7. Yeah.
It depends if they'll have me back or not. It's a wake-up call where contextually using it like I just did a moment ago once is just about okay, and using it repeatedly to diffuse someone else's use of it isn't okay. Now, on my own server, I might be able to toe that line and get away with it, but in reality, I can't do that either here, because literally only yesterday, this server operator told me off also. Subtly, but I still got an ear bending, right? The ear bending being, don't do that here, from the server operator. This is not my server. I don't run it. It's not my rules. And doing that got me in trouble not only on their server, which they may well never have me back on, and I wouldn't blame them, because I've found out subsequently just how big a deal it is from many different people who have informed me in no uncertain terms why my egregious use of that word or my overuse of that word was wholly inappropriate. Now, am I going to apologise for it? Yeah. If somebody is sincerely offended by my use of that word, I will sincerely apologise to them, because my intention isn't to cause offence. It was to diffuse the offence intended by my opponent when playing a soundbite using that word. That was my intention. And I'll explain that to somebody. And if it is required that an apology is needed, I'll give it. Now, if in the case of politics, to answer your question, they say, we don't want you back, I would take that on the chin. I'd say, I understand, and I would accept that. If they have me back, I'll go on bended knee, cap in hand, and apologise profusely for my breaking of their terms of service and hope they'll welcome me back. But if they don't, I would totally understand. I don't know what the answer is to that in terms of whether or not I'll ever find out. I may never ever find out. It might just be, I know I am banned, though. Let's put it that way.
I did ask them to unban you, though, but we'll see.
Yeah, but I can understand why. I've broken the rules. Sometimes you have to take it on the chin that you've done something wrong, and you have to accept the consequences of that. Yeah? That's life.
Yeah, you broke the rules, but like the whole thing, like I got it in context, and I wasn't offended at all because I understood exactly what you were doing and why you did it. Because some other idiot came in and did it, and you're just like, oh yeah, that's what we're gonna do, and then that was your response, and to me it was funny, but I can understand why some people might get offended or whatever, but to me it's whatever, man.
It's a charged
really,
word.
Like, banned you from there for that? It's just like it wasn't just like a one day don't come back.
That's the terms of service.
Perma ban?
That's their terms of service that were broken. So they're well within their rights, totally justifiable for banning me. So you're like, when you say for that, well, what, for a complete violation of the terms of service that I agreed to? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other problem is everyone lives in a different country, right? That's another issue.
Yeah. I don't know if it's an issue. They're actually quite black and white with their terms of service. I had to agree to them when I joined their server, like everyone has to here.
Right, but in America, we have freedom of speech, whereas in the UK, you guys don't have that.
We do have freedom of speech.
Of course you don't. Come on.
We do.
Look at your president. Or your prime minister. He's a tyrant.
Okay, the reason you're saying that is because
nobody has freedom of speech anymore. Nobody has freedom of speech anymore. The issue with that, the issue of what you did, Nathan, is it's a broader issue. It's about reputation. I mean, the server doesn't want to have the reputation of being a server where people can drop the N-word like that. Even regardless of the context, the outsider doesn't know the context. of how or why you use that word. And because you did something most people would not do, even though Chocolate said he didn't find any offence in it, which I knew kind of without even him saying it, I suspected it. And I could say the same to Eli or D Rose. Point is that the reputation of the server, they don't want their reputation being, right, even though it's a Discord thing, they still don't want their reputation being that on that server, people use that word.
Yep.
If you know what I mean. And it's not like...
But it was in response. It was in response to something. To somebody who didn't even have the balls to say the word himself. He had to play an audio of somebody saying it. Right? It's like, what? I don't.
Yeah, that's true. Like, don't get me wrong, that's totally true. That he played the audio, and that Nathan responded to the audio flippantly. Like, but what can you do? I suppose.
No, it wasn't necessarily. I know what you're saying by flippantly, like over the top, and yeah, but it was more that the guy who's using that is using it for the reasons he's succeeded with. Now, me, I was obviously ignorant to those facts when I've responded the way I have. However, the reason I did respond the way I did was because the clip that was played using that word, it's really hard to muster an intonation when using a word that conveys an emotion or a feeling towards an entire race of people. Now, if you're just trying to do that on the fly, like you said, the guy hadn't got the balls. I don't think it's that he hadn't got the balls. It's just that the what's the word? Venom. There's a word I use sometimes when I'm talking to ballers. The venom that was in the guy who used the word in the clip. Now, it's not like he was saying it in anger, but there's just something about somebody who's obviously a racist when they use that word. It just cuts a little different. Do you know what I mean?
They mean it.
They mean it, yeah.
They have a negative intention.
Yes.
Is it racist though if you're using it to another white person? I understand if the other person is black and they get offended, but if it's another white guy and you say that to him and they get offended,
it's a racist word. No matter how, this is what's been explained to me. I can only answer this because so many people have laid it out for me. Doesn't matter how I use it or what context I put it in. It has the word connotations. Nigger is a charged word no matter how you mean it when you say it. Me explaining that when some people say it, they mean it like this doesn't change how the word gets taken regardless of who's saying it or how they're saying it. It's a charged word. Doesn't matter if I don't want it to be or I try and diffuse that charge. It's still charged whether I want it to be or not. There is no defusing it is the point.
Well, it's of course it's a charged word. I mean, the fact that racism still exists to the degree it does in just the United States, now I think people in the United States, they view the whole thing a bit different now than they did maybe some time back, but it still exists. So it's going to be a charged word for you because you don't, in fairness, you don't live in that level of racial tension that they have in the United States. You know what I mean? And that's the thing about it. For you, it's like you're like, some people don't realize when I use the N-word. I don't mean it in that way. It's like that's not going to matter. Someone somewhere is going to get angry because of that.
Exactly.
Or be insulted. You know.
Yeah. Exactly.
You can't blame them either. It depends on what they experience when they're grown up. So, go on.
No, I'm just agreeing with you. It's exactly that. No matter what I mean when I say it, there's going to be people that will always take offence to its use. So no matter how much I can justify my use of it, it's always going to cause offence. So I've been educated on my use of this phrase, which I cringe at typically, which is the N-word, to refer to it without using it. Now, for whatever reason, that is society's way of taking the sting out of it. And I've just got to accept that. I've been told, I understand. The message has been communicated, it's been received.
There was this lad, and I'm surprised actually that YouTube are not coming down on you for using the word, because I thought they'd be the first. Boy, added this, I thought YouTube would be in your face over. I thought you wouldn't use that word because of YouTube.
No.
Oh, well.
No, YouTube have got no worries. You go and watch a Django Unchained clip. You're covering me on.
Yeah, but that's within the movie. You know, like people are kind of expecting
it doesn't work like that.
You know what
No.
you know what's coming up. You know?
It doesn't work like that. It's just a word, right? As far as the algorithm's concerned, it's vulgar language in the same way as the F word or the C word or whatever vulgar language is just vulgar language. There's a time limit on when you can use it, and that's it. Now, if you're putting out hate speech, then they've got a community guideline that a person would have to assess to make that judgment call on. And it's the same with racism. Someone's going to have to make a call. Well, obviously, none of those videos got demonetized. So you're like, okay, so what does that tell me? It tells me that they look at it and they assess whether or not, if they have at all. I mean, I don't know if it even triggered anybody to look at them. I would imagine not. But if they did, they'd go, is this person a racist sack of shit? Is he inciting racial hatred? No. So moving on. Who cares? That's chocolate sentiment, though, isn't it?
But it's also the reputation of the platform. Do you know what I mean? Like the reputation of Discord, because Discord is not like YouTube. It's not a place where there's videos and there's audio, video clips from movies and not. Discord is a place where people speak person to person. You know, it's a communication platform, and so they don't want the reputation of being racist. You know,
and that's also why I'm kind of like, you know, it kind of sucks, but I slightly understand because, you know, like there's obviously those people that'll come in and play an audio or something, or sometimes they'll say it themselves and just be like, oh, nigga, 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 you know, and then those people just get banned, you know, because there's no reason for that. So in a way, I do understand Nathan getting banned. It kind of sucks, but I mean, he responded the way he did, and he's gotta hold that and whatever.
Who asked the question from Discord?
Just me personally. I'm like, this is all whatever. But you know,
it's a bit of a nothing
different place in my mind.
I just want to credit whoever it is that asked from Discord. Who is it that asked that question? Good question. It's on everyone's mind, so you might as well have asked whoever it was. Kudos. Good question. Well phrased. Any other questions in that regard? Feel free, as it's being asked. I don't mind answering if you want to ask anything further in that regard before I round out. No? With that, I will say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned. There will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, another massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed. Hit me up on PayPal, maybe bought a microphone, who knows. I've been Nathan Oakley. Another massive thank you to G Plus and Discord, and I will see you all in the next video.